speakers that we have for today. We have Thomas Sim from Top Ocean in Singapore. We have Sumit from Real Logistics in India. And we have Raj from Perimeter Global Logistics in the US. I will be asking you a set of 3 questions. Good morning, gentlemen. Thank you once again for participating in this relatively quick panel discussion. I think it would be interesting for us to hear what you have to say, how COVID has impacted your business. Maybe we can start with you, Sumit. How has COVID-19 impacted your business, the positive as well as the negative impacts to your business in your country? What can you tell us about that?
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. COVID, for a change, has really shaken the entire world. No words or no second questions on that. But the biggest positive to begin with, I would say that everyone in the world have understood the importance of logistics and how it really helps not only for business but even for your day-to-day survival. When it comes to the challenges which in India we really faced was India is a massive country with so many people, with logistics taking place at every corner of the country, at every corner of the street. Everything came to a standstill. The operations were challenged. The way a person lives, a way a person works, the entire systems was challenged dramatically for the operations which were supposed to be done during the COVID times as well. In terms of logistics, yes, the challenge were raised from the shipping line, from the airlines with respect to the capacities, from the perspective of the shippers or the importers who were having very limited resources to communicate, to practically manage their business. In same applies to us. But at the same time, we must appreciate that the Indian government, our own team, everyone stood up and they were allowed to work with certain guidelines to ensure that the essential services were being supported by the logistic service providers. So that was a very good part that really people stood up to the occasion and they could manage things better. With respect to a couple of more negatives and positives, I would say with respect to negatives, for sure, yes, the volumes dropped down. They are slowly picking up, but some old payments were also, getting difficult to really manage nowadays. However, on the positive front, we did the revenues are better than before. The margins, the working capital has been managed much better now, and the overall industry is really looking positive ahead. And we have been, specialized in chemicals and pharmaceuticals, which really helped us to perform even better during the lockdown period. So overall, no complaints from the business perspective, but yes, we look forward to have a better future for everyone.
Thank you, Sumit. If I can move on to Raj, how has COVID impacted your business, the good side and bad sides?
Well, I'm sure, like the rest of us here, the first 2 months of April and May, I'm sure we all want to forget and wipe out from our memories. There were obviously lockdowns, shutdowns, and while in the US, I'm sure same worldwide, transportation was deemed to be one of the essential services, but our customers were shut down. So as you can imagine, containers were arriving, piling up, factories were closed, became a real challenge. And so suffice to say, April and May were our worst months. Our business was down about 10 to 15%. And that was because we were fortunate to have one of our customers have a large project that really saved the day for us. Otherwise, our decline could have even have been 20%. By June, we started seeing the business pick up. And I'm guessing the rest of the world felt the same way. For PGL specifically, there are 4 sectors that we're pretty strong in. There are a couple others. One is hospitality, hotels. We all know what's happened to the hotels. They've been shut. Aviation is a big sector for us. We all know the planes have been grounded, and even now there's barely 25% of flights up in the air. So that hurt us. And the biggest, another vertical we are in is exhibition trade shows. We all know that those have been closed. That's why we all here on a virtual. There's our exhibition trade show being held right now virtually. And of course, retail wholesale. PGL has a few retail wholesale clients. Fortunately for us, we also have a few high-tech clients. That really, really saved the day. I just mentioned, for instance, Chicago, which is one of our big office. Chicago did not feel COVID. Chicago actually, in the months of April, May, while we were down, they were up. The whole country was down. Chicago was doing more volume, so that kind of helped us a little bit. And last but not the least, we have a couple of customers who have had factories in China. And it's amazing how everybody's out innovated themselves. They have become big players in PPE. In other words, these are companies who are not in PPE, but because of the deep relationships with China factories going back 3 decades, they, through the connection, were able to pick up. And we have two very strong customers now. They're doing more business than ever. And we are, of course, air freighting, as you can imagine. So that helped us. And going into Q3, we were very pleasantly surprised. Our Q3 was a record ever, which is hard for people to fathom, but I must give credit to PGL becoming part of this United States test kitting process. So one of our customers is leading the COVID-19 test movement, and they're one of the fastest growing companies. PGL is very blessed to have them as a customer. So it was both the overall pent-up demand as well as these test kits. So that's us in a nutshell.
Thank you. And Thomas, how has that affected? How has COVID impacted your business in Singapore?
Thank you, Niels. Once again, good evening, good morning, and good afternoon, everybody. Well, I think Raj and Sumit have said it all. It is an unprecedented disruptions, and this disruptions has not ended yet. In many cases, in many economies, we are facing similar phenomena. The phenomena where there are job losses, of course, and it sharpens actually in a lot of companies, especially the small and medium-sized enterprise, to look carefully, not just on physical flow of products, but also on the financial flow, as well as the information flow. Now, so there's a lot of changes, there's a lot of disruptions, and companies who have moved faster than the other in terms of transformation actually survive better. And we are no different. It forces us to look at the cash flow. I think let's be real, for small and medium size, cash flow is one of the main challenges that companies look at. And it also forces us to transform the way we do businesses. We now implement more technology features, and we are kind of lucky to take advantage of situations like transforming our business to do more on domestic moving, as well as last mile fulfillment in terms of e-commerce delivery, the first and the last mile, especially for the food, especially for the pharmaceutical products moving into the different stores and getting it distributed to the different touch points. So of course, now the big challenge is what kind of recoveries we're looking at. There has been a lot of efforts. We're quite fortunate in the case of the Singapore situation. We have a lot of initiative, augmented by the government. So companies are getting a lot of assistance to ensure that they transform gradually and quickly as well sometimes, especially in critical industry verticals. So we move along and try to be innovative to change the way we do businesses. Yeah, so that's the way we try to counter it. And we are quite fortunate in the sense that we have moved into new opportunities, the opportunities to be engaged more on the last mile. And this helped us pretty much in that sense. Yeah.
Thank you, Thomas. That's interesting insight. If I could move on to the second question now, what do you think are the changes, the lasting changes that you believe will stay on after the pandemic? Maybe if you could continue, Thomas, what do you think will be a lasting change that this pandemic has caused and will stay on in our business?
Well, first of all, something for sure is that social distancing will remain, of course. And companies will have to look at new ways to do business. There's no chance that we're going to go back pre-COVID situation. And businesses will definitely have to look at things like, for example, into more electronic, automated way of doing business. Like our economy is shortage of manpower, and automation, employing AI, employing sensors, IoT, big data. This is something which is already happening. And whether there are economies who says that the recovery will come in like a K-shaped recovery situation, where you have very unbalanced kind of focus. Certain economy will look at more moving faster than the other. Now, the reality is that today we really see a lot of capacity issues because the carriers are making changes. The rates are going like you've never seen before. It's unbelievable. And even if you pay the kind of rates, you don't get the space actually. I think many of us face this similar situation. So what's going to happen? Well, I think a lot of collaboration is necessary. That's why the network like this CLN, I think the collaboration will become more intense because we got to work together. Yeah, no man's an island. So I see moving forward, more and more intense collaboration will be one of the more important things. And the knowledge base as well as evidence based kind of business will thrive better than the other.
All right. Raj, what are your observations? What do you think will have a lasting impact after this pandemic?
So as all of you may know, retail is a big sector in the United States. About 65 to 70% of our economy, the entire economy in US, is retail. And retail has been seeing challenging signs going back probably about 8 to 10 years ago. One of our great customers, very sadly, a company called Pier 1 Imports, filed bankruptcy first. It's called Protection, and then the COVID-19 happened. So this pandemic, I think, was like they say, the proverbial straw that broke the camel's back. Because now most of us are confined in our respective homes, at least we were for the months of April and May. So now what's happened in the US, we're seeing this. Every one of us here in the US can experience this. We see at least 1 or 2 packages outside our homes daily. We're ordering everything through the web. So that has changed. The only survivors that are there is the big box, as we call them here, the Walmarts, the Costco's of the world. Those actually, their business has exploded. So the larger stores are doing much better. They're surviving, their market cap has grown, their revenues have grown. But the smaller guys, the guys who have 2,000 square feet, 4,000 square feet, it's very sad to see they're all dying on the vine. Very, very sad. So that's a big shift. We are going to go completely into ordering stuff over the web. So I see great opportunities ahead. All of us here on this call are into what is called logistics. Logistics really is sort of the thing. Ultimately, we bring the goods to whoever the customer is, wherever the customer is, regardless. As Thomas said, the world is becoming smaller. There's no such thing as man's lands. It's just, we're all one big company, or one big sort of country. Now, the challenges that I see here is area of technology. If you think about it, we in logistics are the only business that is still in the 19th century. And you ask how? Well, we still are stuck on the PODs. We still need some documentation. We still need some original BOLs. We're not able to move as fast as many of the other tech companies. So we all as a group will have to, our trade associations will have to get to a point when if I can sign a contract virtually, why can't I not have? So a lot of things have to change. Each of us, as Thomas and Sumit touched upon, cash flow is going to be the king. I'll just share this on behalf of PGL. What happened to us here is when this pandemic happened, this is me personally, and my team knows what happened. I went in a total mayhem thinking, what if? The what if was a very bad scene. What if this continues? What if we PGL have start cutting employees off? That is not acceptable to PGL. So we went out, and I think if we all do that, we started pushing our customers. And by the way, folks, I'm proud to say this, very unusual to share this. Our aging has never looked better. Repeat, never looked better. I think we all realized, and our customers understood when we called them, no, sir, paying in 60 days, not an option. Paying in 90, not an option. You got to pay in 45, pay in 50, pay in maybe 55, but not beyond 60. So in a way, I think we all have worked together, our customers, and they're pushing their customers. Ultimately, if we all paid each other in 30 days, none of us would need an accounts receivable team. Don't get me wrong, I don't remove jobs, but that's sort of our experience. And last but not the least, those of us who are in logistics will have to basically understand that we have our customers. So e-com, for instance, for PGL, e-commerce has exploded. We are very blessed and fortunate that we started e-com about 5 years ago, and our customers are, because of our vast footprint in US, is helping us some. So those are, I see great opportunities ahead for us in logistics personally.
Thank you. Sumit, how about you? What are the changes that you believe will stay on after the pandemic?
As Thomas and Raj has already put forward a lot of pointers in that, one was, yes, a usage of more of technology in day-to-day work, which is supposed to come even more. And I would just like take a cue from Mr. Raj Shubhani's wording that yes, logistic for certain reason, even though yes, we everything is done on the computers and everything, but still we are still lagging behind a lot when it comes to the seamlessness of working. There are so many things that we still depend upon on physical and human interventions that needs to improve and which is expected to improve globally in the coming years. Apart from that, yes, financial awareness, the way people are supposed to be financial sorry, healthy, and they need to do their health checkups every year. But at the same time, the companies have across the globe understood that a financial health checkup is also necessary, and people are going to be more aware about how they want to deal with and which kind of customers they need to understand. So even customer segmentation for every company will become a point to think about, that which kind of customers they need to add to their portfolio, and which are short-term customers and which are long-term customers which are going to really give you a edge in the long run. So that is something, these pointers are going to add up when a person is going to really think about his long-term business. At the same time, e-commerce no doubt has been the biggest winner in this pandemic, and it looks maybe down the line of 5 to 10 years is going to explode even more, because people are not going to move out so easily nowadays, and things are going to get ordered online, as many things as possible. So that is one segment. Another segment is that yes, pharmaceutical industry, which was anyways doing good, but their importance, the compliances, the need for making sure that you have the right team, the right infrastructure in hand, is going to increase further. So that segment furthermore is going to be added when it comes to the global logistics perspective. And just last point, which I would like to add, as Mr. Thomas has also mentioned, a lot of new markets are going to open up. The way China was shutting down themselves in the beginning, it is the raw material factory for the entire globe. There's no doubt about it. A lot of people across the globe, a lot of manufacturing across the globe, including in India, they were waiting for raw materials to come in so that they can do their manufacturing. They can supply domestically or they can export. So people across the globe are now being forced to look out for alternate options for resources, for raw materials. At the same time, they are going to start developing and identifying new markets for their businesses. So we can expect some new trade lanes to pick up. We can expect some new markets to really, come out of nowhere and become something that people will be interested to really invest in. So these are some changes which is on the I would say on the mindset as well as on the physical day-to-day business, which are going to remain for the longer period as of now.
Thank you, Sumit. Okay, now moving on to our last question. I would like you to please take out your crystal ball. When do you all believe that the economy in your country will recover back to pre-pandemic times? If you could give me sort of your future predictions. Thomas, how do you see it going forward from here?
Well, it is never easy to see the crystal ball. I think if we look at the IMF projection, they are looking at 2021, probably the second half. The prediction for global economy is 5.4% by end of 2021. But for advanced economy, they're looking at 4.8, and for emerging markets, developing economy, also thereabout. But honestly speaking, these are only forecasts. In our local economy, because Singapore is so dependent on the hinterlands of ASEAN as well as the rest of the world. And if the regional economy or the global economy does not recover, we do not think that we can actually recover fast enough. So well, the industry, as I involve in the local, regional, and international bodies like FIATA, myself in the executive body as a senior vice president, we have a lot of discussion, and the sentiments is that it will not see very bright future. Although we want to be optimistic, but I think the growth will be pretty difficult, at least for the next 6 to 12 months. Yeah, this is a general sentiment actually. But of course, we always hope for the best and we work together to make it better. But the reality is that it's not going to be a very fast recovery. But some sectors will move faster. That's why I mentioned the K-shaped economy as shared by many economies. Some sectors like pharmaceutical, e-commerce, and some of the perishables, these will obviously move faster. And the other may be eliminated even some industry. So actually, it is difficult times. Yeah.
Mm. Okay, thank you. Sumit, maybe you can give us your predictions.
To predict anything right now is going to be, the very difficult for anyone, no doubt about it. But if you talk about India as a country, there are a lot of positives in the country itself. The reason being, we are huge population, so the demand is generated within the country as well. So that is one positive about it. Second positive is that the government has been pushing for Make in India for a very long time. So a lot of manufacturing, a lot of positive, sector developments are going to take place within the next couple of years furthermore. If you talk about the real value of the GDP, yes, we might be able to touch that maybe down the line of 6 months or 1 year that we were doing pre-COVID. But a big change with respect to the job shifts to new business or to new working environments is going to take place. So a settling down of the economy will still take around a couple of years, no doubt. But if you talk about the just numbers, the numbers should start picking up in the next 6 months to 1 year. And the biggest industry, as everyone says, that pharmaceutical, yes, for that India is manufacturing hub now, so that is in positive. And surprisingly, automotive industry, they had the best sales year in the month of October in India. So if the automotive industry is showing such a good sign, it is in general going to give a good notion across the globe and across India. But it's just that when it comes to individual people, the way they have been working, the industries they have been working, a lot of reshuffle is going to take place, which will settle down in another year's time or so. So a year is something that we need to look at.
Thank you very much. And Raj, we lost you here on the screen. Raj, if we could.
I'm here. Maybe
yes.
Not on the main screen. So in US, similar to comments echoed by the group here, our government, our Trump administration and his group really moved very, very swiftly. I'm sure it's a role model for the rest of the world. It was very early on by April. By the end of March, CARES Act was finalized. By April, I forget the exact date, by April 5th or 10th, I know PGL received its CARES funding by the second or third week of April, I forget the exact date. So United States moved swiftly thanks to our current administration. So I got to give it to our government. As far as the returning to pre-pandemic, my prediction is probably maybe slightly more aggressive than the others. I expect by Q2 or earlier. And that is along the lines of what Sumit touched upon. We had a record, auto industry had a record October as well here. In fact, the factories are unable to keep up with the demand, and the dealers are seeing the inventories drop to record levels. So in other words, they don't have enough inventory to sell, i.e. cars. So United States will see sort of a shift where our restaurant industry, our retail sector is being affected very, very sadly, very irreparably. Aviation is hurting, but again, we also had our CARES Act also had a portion for the aviation industry, which helped the aviation industry, and all the jobs were maintained through September 30. Sure enough, come October 1, when the funding ran out, a lot of our airlines started doing layoffs. And I think we're seeing that globally. I mean, every major airline, whether it's Lufthansa, whether it is, you just go down the whole list. These are tough jobs for aviation. So outside of a few groups that might hurt, and I have a feeling that they will find a way to, obviously all the airlines now are, instead of putting people on board, we are seeing them put cargo very well. So I expect the pre-pandemic to return hopefully on or before end of next quarter, as in end of Q1 is what I meant.
All right. Oh, thank you very much. This actually also concludes our Q&A. Thank you for all your contributions. Thank you for the panel speakers in joining us this morning. Way. All right. I would like to move on to our next section, which is a live Q&A. We have basically a panel of 3 speakers. So if we could move on to the next segment, please. I would like to introduce the panel